Hey Steve, Larry here. I just wanted to reach out with a quick video showing something that I think you're going to like. And also I thought it might be a good refresher since we haven't talked for a few weeks about how easy it is to create a job and a quote inside of AccuQuote. So I'm in your instance here. So we're at https eSolutionsTN.AccuQuote.direct. And I've just logged in, and anytime you log in, you come to the dashboard. So I'm going to click on this button right here, create a job, and anything that has a little red asterisk is required. We have a lot of people that create a header, job header, which is what we're doing right now, as soon as they learn of an opportunity, because it makes it easy to track. Because now, once you create the header, everything shows up in your reports here. Job status, we'll say is open. We're going to assign it to me. Put a bid date on it of today. And the bidders, here are all your contacts that we loaded. So here's all bidders. And I'm going to just put an internal note saying this is a sample quote, and I'm going to save that job. Now, as soon as I save that, I get a couple of choices of what to do next. One is I could duplicate this job. Now, I wouldn't duplicate this one just because there's really nothing in it just yet. But I do want to point this out just because once you have a lot of history in here, you've got a lot of jobs in here, this becomes very powerful because as you bid on work in the future, if you've already created a job that is configured closely to what you're bidding on in the future, you can just duplicate it, make a couple of changes, and then get the quote out. So we see people using this because it's really efficient. I'm also going to join this job. When I click here, now it'll show up in my dashboard. So that's why I'm clicking, I clicked join job. Next step, create a place for me to put some equipment. So I'm going to click right here, add a quote group. I'm going to call it Steve Quote Group 1. We see people sometimes use boiler, venting, chiller as quote group names. Sometimes they use manufacturers as quote group names. It's really up to you on how you want to quote. I'm going to list my status of this particular piece of equipment in this quote group as open right now. My division is Chattanooga. That's because I had chosen Chattanooga as one of the divisions bidding earlier. And then my base of design, I'll just say is carrier. And I'm going to save that quote group. So now I've got a place to start bidding equipment. I can have as many quote groups as I want. And you can make them, you can have 10 of them, you can have one of them. It's really up to you. Now that I've got a place to start quoting, I am going to add some quote items. That's this button right here. I have created something. I know the last time we talked, you were interested in how a table would look inside of your quote. So I created two templates, one without a table and one with a table. So I'm going to use the one with the table. And as soon as I say I want to use that template, it goes and brings back all the information for that piece of equipment that was in that template. So here's my equipment name, my manufacturer, my asset tag. If I know what it is, I can always add this later. My model. I don't have anything in my primary description line. And that is one way people set up their quotes. Some people put a lot of information here. Some people don't. You're going to see what that looks like if you don't. Just because that's how this template is set up. If we schedule a call, I can show you what it looks like if you put it all in here. So it's very flexible. Internal notes, this is where you'd put things that you want your team to see or know about while they're bidding. Here's your quote group. You can choose, as I mentioned, you can have as many quote groups as you want. So if you had 10 quote groups, it would ask you which quote group you want to put all this information in. And then here are my line items. This is that table I set up for you. And then I just have a secondary line where I just put it in some product details, and I'm going to insert those line items. And when I do that, it takes all that information from that template and it sticks it here into my grid. You were interested in being able to specify quantity here, so I did that. You also have the ability to specify quantity out here, and I think you were interested in doing more of like a lump sum quote where you would specify the quantity of the equipment here, but not necessarily have pricing here. I put pricing in the template here just to show you that you can put pricing in the template and it's automatically pulled in. It's completely up to you how you want to do it. So you can do it here or you can do it here. It's really up to you. And then under here, under equipment, I'm going to put 1, for example. And I could tab across here and I could put pricing in here also if I want to. And I'll show you what that looks like or where that will go. So now what you see is I have a quote group. I have multiple pieces of equipment that have been specified in this quote group. I'm going to save that job. So now I've got something very solid that I can manage and track to. You can see here that I give you, or AccuQuote gives you all the numbers. So you can see here we got a profit of about $1,431.20 with a margin of almost 44%. So that's pretty good. So now I've created a job. Now let's say I want to quote that job. I can jump over here to the quote tab. There's nothing here now. So if I go here, click add a quote. I can add a quote. I can pick a date. I can pick a vendor or a bidder. I'll put attention Larry. This is my quote group. If I had multiple quote groups, I could pick and choose which quote groups I want to have go into this quote. And the nice thing is that AccuQuote will remember that. So some people just do all bidders and they do one quote for everybody. Other people have very specific ways that they bid. However you want to do it, we can manage to that. And if you set up different bids for different or different quotes for different bidders, we'll remember the details for you. The division's Nashville. Estimator is UT Administrator because that's who I'm signed in as. And then here are your standard terms and conditions that I created from those quotes that you sent me, those sample quotes. So now I'm going to create this quote. So here it is. Now I have a quote and I want to print it. I'm going to do a lump sum price. You can do pricing by group, by quote group, by equipment, by feature. It's up to you. I'm going to print that proposal. What it's doing now is it's going out and generating a PDF for me. If I open up that PDF, here it is. So here's the job that we just created. Your logo would go here. And then here is that Steve quote group 1. That would be here. Here's your quantity. We actually have some customers that ask us to get rid of this quantity. It's completely customizable. We can do it either way. Here is that table. You can see where everything's nicely lined up. I think if you remember the last time we had the call, we were having trouble getting everything spaced. Well, Drew's figured that out. And then here's that additional description line. Here is the total price for the project of $32.91.20. And then here are your terms and conditions. So as you can see, pretty quick way to generate a very professional quote that's accurate, has all the numbers crunched for you. I thought this might be helpful just to send this over to you so you could see how it's pretty quick and easy, and that we have a number of templates now that we've created. I think we've got 5 of them that we've created for you to test with and experiment. If you have somebody else on your team that you want me to work with, I can certainly do that too, and let somebody sort of get their feet wet using the system and experimenting with it. Anything that you put in here, we can always delete later. This has really just been set up so that we can figure out the optimum configuration for your company. I hope you're doing great, Steve, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Bye-bye.